And Scottie Barnes has been excellent for this team all season. One thing I was starting to really think after the game is, I mean, you were saying it yourself. He was hitting those big shots, those Trent Boris shots that we would see last season. I mean, he's been the X factor for this team this season. Really, I didn't want to say that going into this game, but after coming out of this game, I think there's no question he's just the X factor of this team. When Scottie plays well, when he steps up to the moment, this Florida State team is going to win games.
For sure, and it's not always on the offensive end. Scottie, he finished, I believe, with 13 points, but most of those points were in the second half. He was missing a lot of shots early on in the game, but he and his other teammates involved. He was making the smart passes, the extra passes, and you kind of see this every single game from Scottie Barnes. Every time that he makes a mistake on offense, or not necessarily a mistake, it could just be a missed shot, you see him immediately on the defensive end. He's trying to strip the ball, get a turnover. It seems like he's always getting multiple steals per game. He's always involving Florida State on both sides of the ball. And you also got to give credit to Anthony Polite, somebody that we were talking about before this broadcast. The fact that he's back in the lineup after missing a lot of games. When you have those two guys in your backcourt, you have dependable defensive players in both of them. You could argue that they're the two most important defensive players for Florida State, them and maybe Raekwon Gray or Malik Osborne. But having that duo in the backcourt, kind of makes up for other things, especially when you're struggling offensively, which Florida State was. They were struggling a little bit toward the end of that second half.
Yeah, and I think you're right. They were really struggling at the end of the first half, but then they came around. They relied on their defense. They relied on making big plays, and then they kept the game close enough to the point that by the end of regulation, when the game was within striking distance, they were really able to take advantage, and they were really able to put their I was talking about this with another writer from our staff, Logan, on his podcast a few weeks ago, how this team really needs to learn how to put their foot on the gas pedal at the end of the games. They really need to figure out how to not just beat teams, but put teams away. And while they didn't necessarily put Wake away at the end of regulation, I think what they proved is they can hang around with teams